Got one more person. Two more people. Right, I'll start. Right, let's make a start. So, good afternoon everybody. I'm Stephanie Turnbull and I work on MPA tests, and I've been here for about 7 months now at Waters. And today I'm going to present to you a pint-sized view on science. Now, pint size refers to not only the size of your presenter, but also the amount of scientific content in here. So please don't expect any marbles. Come on in. You started, sit down. That's brilliant. So yeah, today's going to be really informal. So if anybody's got any questions, please feel free to just pop your hand up throughout and I'll try and get to you as soon as possible. Unfortunately, I have to let you know that this is a bit of false advertisement here. There's no pints involved in what you can't. So, let's begin. So I'd like to take a bit of an exploration here today and come on this little bit of a journey through public engagement. And we're going to try and understand why public engagement is really important to companies like Waters. So if you take a bit of a leap of faith, I promise this won't take too much out of your time, and we'll go and explore this idea of public engagement. So we're going to look originally at inspiration, and then we're going to look at what public engagement actually is. Ray, just find seats, fine, don't worry. And then we're going to look at my experience through public engagement. I'm going to look at the benefits, and then we'll leave you with some thoughts for the future. So, what does inspiration mean to you? I'd like you just to take a second and think what inspires you as a person to be better and bolder and go to that next level in terms of your career, but also in terms of your life. Now, the Oxford Dictionary states that inspiration is a process of being mentally stimulated to do or to be better. So just think of that inspiration, and we're going to take that just straight through with us with this presentation. This picture on the board, I think, massively sums up inspiration to me. So inspiration is like the hands that hold your brain, and the hands stimulate the thoughts that are brought to your brain in order to move forward. So, we've got some inspirational people on here. What I'd like us to do is, I can see it's quite warm in here, not long since had lunch. The mood lighting in here is quite low, so I appreciate that a lot of you are struggling probably for a bit of attention. So we're going to go through each of these people and then try and understand why they're inspirational. So anybody know who this guy here is? Nobody knows this highly decorated athlete. Shout out. Michael Phelps. Why is he so inspirational? I'm going to pick on people. Steve Connor.
Didn't even know who he was.
Right, so I'll help Steve here a little bit. So he's the most highly decorated Olympian ever. So he's got 28 medals to his name. Now, in terms of doing your average couple of lengths at the swim bats on a Sunday, I think that guy might inspire you to do an extra 10. Correct? Brilliant. Right. So who's this lady we've got down here? Who said Marie Curie? Right, so Dave, why is she inspirational?
Because she explored an area of science that nobody had ever really delved into and even died doing it.
Brilliant. So Marie Curie actually got a Nobel Prize with her husband, Pierre, in 2000, in 1903 for her research with radium. Unfortunately for her, her husband actually got killed in an accident, and then she went on and was so determined to continue her work, she went on to get another Nobel Prize in chemistry in 1911. Now, if you think back to the early 1900s and people like Emily Frances and things like that were happening, this woman's massively inspirational to science today, and then also engineering and scientists that are women as well, because if you think of the beginning of all this research with women getting involved in male subjects, this is where it all began. So we've got this woman here. Does anybody know who she is? Danielle, I hope you do.
Mary Black.
Mary Black. Do you know who she is?
Yeah. I don't, I'm not an SMP fan.
Okay, right. So not necessarily. So Mary Black, who said that? Hands up. Tom, why is she inspirational?
She got the youngest MP in the previous year.
Yeah, 1832 was the last youngest MP. So when she was elected back in 2015, she hadn't signed, and there's a lovely seat here for you if you'd like to sit down. Back in 2015, actually, she was the youngest MP to be elected since 1832. She also beat Douglas Alexander off his main post, which caused a bit of controversy at the time. One big thing about her is that she hadn't actually finished a university degree at Glasgow University in politics, and she'd already got elected as an MP. So I think in terms of inspiration, we can all put her up there. Do you agree? So there's this guy here at the top, curly hair. I don't expect Steve to understand who he is if he doesn't know who Michael Phelps is. So anybody else know who that is? Who? What did you say? It's Mark Zuckerberg, yeah. Why is he inspirational?
Founder of Facebook.
Right, okay, brilliant. Another thing about him is he's made so much money making our lives maybe better or worse with Facebook. I'd like you to understand that one and take it from your view. But what he also does is he's making sure that all his wealth, or the majority of it, goes back into charity. So he's made loads of money, like a lot of people, but what he's actually doing is putting it back in to the world, and I think that's a great thing to be inspired by. Now, this guy here, who's that? You've got no idea who that is, Steve. Who's that guy? No idea? Anybody? No? Right, so it's a barber. Obviously, people know this is quite funny. I don't know why, I've often missed out on that one. Right, so it's a barber. Now, he's inspirational because he was the first African-American president, and if you think back to only like the 1960s and 50s when the civil rights movements were around, people like Martin Luther King campaigned for things like this to happen, and I think if he knew what was going to happen in terms of somebody inspirational like this becoming a president, I think that's fantastic. Probably in a lot better situation with somebody like him than the potential that we're going to have over the next few years with the president. So, anybody know who this is? Brilliant, I'm so glad you didn't say somebody else, Whoopi Goldberg, as I've had before. So yeah, that's brilliant. So Oprah Winfrey is inspirational because... Because... Did you say something like that? She cries a lot. No, not because she actually cries a lot. So she's the first ever self-made billionaire that's African American, and she came from a really poor, deprived background. And I think in terms of aspirations and showing that it doesn't matter where you come from, I think she full-on explains that you can do anything if you put your mind to it. So, with these inspirational people in mind, we're going to move on, and we're going to go to this. So this is my little inspirational public engagement pyramid. So these three things on here, I think, relate every public engagement event to, well, inspiration. So the first thing you've got to do with any public engagement event is inspire. If you do any public engagement and don't inspire your audience, then you're on to a losing start already, because you've got to inspire your audience to be better and do something with the topic that you're trying to present. Then you've got to involve them. So the key is to involve the least attentive person in the room. So Steve Heaton over there doesn't look very happy at the moment, but we're going to try and inspire him to get involved with public engagement. He's still not realised that I'm talking about him, which is fine. And then we're going to obviously talk about engagement, because if you engage an audience, you obviously get a better response off them, which allows the content that you're presenting to flow a lot easier. Right, so does anybody remember the 1980s, 90s show called Catchphrase?
Yes.
Yeah? And the aim of this programme was to say what you see, correct? So I got this idea from a colleague that I worked with when I was testing out his presentation. And he said, oh, I've got it. So anybody want to hazard a guess at what public engagement is from this say what you see catchphrase? Oh, see, you would have won. What did you win on catchphrase?
$200.
Loads of money. Unfortunately, you're not going to, but well done, you've understood it. So public engagement bridges the gap between science and society. And I think that's basically what I'm going to explain to you today. So it's probably a good time for me to explain my experience, because you're probably thinking, why is a test engineer stood at the front of the room today explaining her ideas on public engagement? So I'm going to let you into this story that I've brought to you today. So before I came here, I worked at Glasgow University, and I was doing a PhD on isotope analysis. And at the time, I got myself heavily involved in public engagement events, because they were a lot of fun and they were a lot different to just doing normal research. And my experience starts with cake. Now, I bet you never knew that public engagement could be used as a form of edible inspiration. So what this is here, I know it doesn't look very appealing, is a contaminated land cake. So this was part of a Bake Your PhD project, and you'll be very surprised to know that I actually won this competition with this cake, with the aid of a 3-tier orange and polenta carrot cake and banana bread with some isotope spun glasses and some nutmeg and cinnamon biscuits that were representing isotopes. But what this actually shows to you is that I had to condense my PhD research into a 5-minute slot so that every person that came to sample my cake also got an idea about my PhD. And it shows that there's a lot of versatility when you're doing different types of public engagement, and this one really worked. So even though you just baked a cake, what you managed to do was get across your ideas to a specific audience. So my experience ranges from cake to pint, so what's not to like? I think if you look at cake and pints and you think of public engagement, it's obviously something I want to get involved in. So I was fortunate enough to be involved with a thing called Pint of Science. Anybody heard of it? No? Okay, right, so Pint of Science is an international festival and it's run over 3 consecutive nights in a year in May. And what this festival aims to do is to bring science into a pub to explain to taxpayers why you're wasting so much money on research that they've got no idea on. And it actually really works. So it was the brainchild of 2 academics in London, and it was first showcased in 2012, and it's been rolled out to 11 different countries all over the world. And what it actually does is shows that any forum can be given public engagement tasks, and then the research can just be carried through. So, I'm going to explain to you about this guy here. So he was one of the guys that presented at Pint of Science in 2015, and he showed the versatility, should we say, of Pint of Science, because if you can see, he's not actually drinking a pint, he's drinking a cup of tea. So he showed that Pint of Science wasn't just catering for all the alcohol that was in the room. But if you also look at his slide, this is a picture of Mona Lisa taking a selfie. So his research, he was a physics student, his research was on selfies. So he did a whole PhD on selfies. Well, that's a bit of a lie. He didn't do it on selfies, he did it on red eye. So do you know when you take a photo and you get that horrible picture with a red eye? Anybody actually know what that red eye actually is? Yeah, so what it actually shows you, I'll pretend I didn't send you my slides before. Even better. So what the red eye actually shows is the oxygen content in your eye. So his research shows that if you take a picture, say like you're a mountain expedition leader, and you look at the oxygen content in somebody's eye, and you can see if they're going to go into altitude sickness, so before they get to a critical level. So it's a really good method of taking something that we see every single day and then putting it into the atmosphere of research and then using it for a beneficial process. So seeing if people are going to suffer from altitude sickness. So Lewis was a brilliant ambassador for this, and I think his research is just fantastic just to promote it. Thought I'd give you a bit of an insight. So public engagement's got many faces, and we've talked about Pint of Science bringing public engagement into pubs, and I think that's something a lot of people like to get involved in, and Pint of Science happens every single year. So next time you hear of it happening in Manchester, I'd encourage you all to get tickets. Anybody heard of Science Slam? No, right, so Science Slam's a public engagement event that's run all across the UK, and what that does is combine science research with like theatre. So you're not allowed any slides, you're just allowed you and props. So to give you an example, if I was to do a Science Slam presentation on mass spectrometry, I'd start off with a massive printout of a rainbow. And I'd start with a rainbow, because a rainbow is a spectrum of colour. But I'd use this spectrum of colour in a different way. On the colours, I'd have different elements, and I'd say it's the mass spectrum. So a lot of children would understand it a lot better if you use visual concepts, and this is what Science Slam aims to do. It's a great thing to get involved in. Similarly, TEDx. I hope a lot of you have heard of that. TED Talks? Yeah, there's a lot of nods in the room. So TED Talks, TED's mission was to promote and inspire engaging talks. Basically, giving people that don't usually have a platform to talk about their research and ideas, a platform to promote their work. And it really works. TEDx is now an app, happens all over the world, and I think tickets for it are hotly contested. So it shows that public engagement can be worked in many different forms. 3-minute thesis. Anybody heard of this one? Anybody got a guess at what this might actually mean? Go on. Danielle seems quite funny. What do you think 3-minute thesis might do?
Explain the thesis.
In how long? 3 minutes, yes. So you have to explain a thesis in 3 minutes. Now, if anybody's done a PhD in here, a lot of you probably have done, explaining 3 to 4 years worth of hell of research in 3 minutes is quite a task. I took part in this at one phase when I was in my first year at university, and to be honest, I think I dropped myself in the deep end because the title alone for my PhD was the position-specific isotope analysis of methyl-tert-butyl ether to elucidate the mechanism of biodegradation. Now, by saying that alone, I've taken up an average about 12 seconds. So condensing a PhD into 3 minutes is really hard. But what this actually does is allow scientists to condense and make their research really concise so that they can get across the majority of their findings in a really short amount of time. This is an international thing. It was founded in the University of Queensland and it really works. So if you've got a few spare minutes on YouTube, I'd Google some. Don't Google mine. But yeah, Google some, they're brilliant. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is Bright Club. Anybody heard of that? Nobody's heard of Bright Club. Right, okay, so it includes 2 things that I'm quite passionate about. So it combines science and stand-up comedy. So the people behind Bright Club thought, in our day-to-day lives, a lot of funny things happen, and we really like to bring them to the attention of people in the general public to try and show them our ideas about our research and what we do on a day-to-day basis. So some comedy promoters in London and some people from the University College of London worked together as an experiment and rolled this out into the UK, and it worked really, really well. I'll give you a bit of an example. I think I've been working for Waters for around 5 weeks, and if you're a test engineer, you know you get sent to do 1 million pre-tests, which is brilliant because it gives you an understanding of how an instrument not only works, but how it's put together. So I was doing pretty well and I was going along as normal with my pre-test, and I had to change the fluidics bit in my Vion. If anybody's done this, they'll know that it contains very small ferrules. Now, I'm quite clumsy, if people know me in the room, and holding the ferrules was a task, let alone actually putting them into the system. So trying to put these ferrules into the fluidics I knew was going to be a bit difficult. Inevitably, I dropped the ferrule into the waste collection bit of the fluidics. Being naive and not knowing how to get them out, generally not using common sense, I put my hand into the fluidics bit and got my hand stuck. That's right, I got myself stuck in a benchtop top for about 5 minutes. Luckily, one of my colleagues, Lindsay, came over and retrieved me from this predicament. And I think if you think about things like that happen throughout your daily life and work, you can probably think you could write a 12-hour sketch for Bright Club. So things like this happen to everybody, but it all makes it a lot lighter if you talk about some of these experiences in the age of science publications. So we're going to move on. So what are the benefits of public engagement? I've been talking for quite a while now on how there's many different types of public engagement. But let's look at how it can benefit Waters. So if you do public engagement for Waters, it'll not only benefit the customers, it'll also benefit the investors. Because they see that public engagement's having a positive effect on everybody. And after all, our ethos is the science of what's possible. So it's really important that we are involved in these public engagement events. We look at the school children, it benefits them massively. So I've been part of Waters for only a few months, and there was an aspirational science week that was going on in Style Primary School, and I went to the school along with a lot of the STEM ambassadors, and I did a presentation on how to make your dreams come true, because I believe that children have got massive delusions of what they're going to actually be in the future, and it's really important to try and tailor their minds to think, well, maybe if I want to be an astronaut, I have to do physics, and I have to do maths, and I have to do all these things to get there. Not I'm going to be an astronaut because I really like to eat. So it's all about focusing their attention. Because I heard a statistic on the radio the other day that said that on average, primary school children think that they will earn over £250,000 by the time they are 21. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that's a bit unrealistic. So I think it's really important to try and get their expectations down to normal. So who else does it benefit? It benefits industry and academia, because when you do things like conferences, they can collaborate and use their ideas together to work forward. It also benefits press and the public engagement benefits social media. So like most people, We're involved with Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, things like this, and public engagement can be used on all of those avenues to only benefit the person that is taking part in these events. So these are the benefits, but who does it benefit the most? Well, I personally think it's you. The country does need you, but I didn't mean to put that on there, I just couldn't block it out. So what it's trying to say is it benefits you the most. Public engagement gives you so much in terms of focusing your career, it focuses your research, because you have to condense it all, and it focuses your outlook in terms of what you want to give back. If you think of this ethos of being the rainbow in somebody's cloud, that's what public engagement promotes. So I think this is it now. I've been going on for quite a while, and hopefully you've been inspired by some public engagement events that I've talked about. So if you see STEM being mentioned at work here again, so STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths. Next time you hear STEM being publicised, please take a second to think, do I have anything to offer? And if you've got something to offer, try and get involved, because it's a brilliant thing to be involved in. Then we've got all the different types of public engagement. So I told you I got involved with cakes and pints. So public engagement has so many different faces. Don't just think it's public speaking, because that's only a very minor part of it. And then the last bit is you're inspiring the current generation, not only the next generation. So it's really important to be as enthusiastic as possible, because you never know if you could just be somebody's rainbow in their cloud. I've been Stephanie Turnbull. Thank you so much for your attention. If anybody's got any questions, I'd like to be invited to the floor. Thank you. Any questions? No questions at all. Go on.
Do you find it's true that you can understand something better yourself if you find you've got to explain it in really simple terms? Does that improve your own understanding of the subject?
100%. So I've got a lot of friends that are teachers, and they'll say this all the time. So they only remember the stuff they've taught. They don't continually explain this stuff, then they'll finally forget it. So yeah, it does condense your learning, and it also improves your own learning as well, I think, if you're presenting that idea to others. Because you have to know what you're talking about. There's no point in doing public engagement on something you don't really understand. Does that answer the question? Thank you. Anybody else got any questions? No?
What inspires you, sir?
What inspires me? Well, I learned very quickly that the first thing that you need to do with your career is accept that the worst thing anybody can ever say is no. So I asked to do this presentation, and I think it inspires me that there's people around you that encourage positivity with your work life, and I think if you've got that in a company, then you'll obviously keep hold of the most important employees, and if you don't, then obviously you go somewhere else. So it's important to be inspired by the people you work with every day, because if you're not inspired by them, then you're obviously working in the wrong place. That's not the case for me at Waters. Does that answer your questions? Brilliant. Anybody else got any questions?
You never let that internship above the federal.
No. Okay, right, well thank you so much for your attention, and yeah, I hope I've not taken up too much of your lunch hour, so thanks very much.